Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, I want to take you through step by step the Astra Militarum Combat Patrol. I'm going to review each unit and recommend how I would build and equip each one. To be clear, I'm not going to be showing you how to build these models physically, as in cutting the bits off the sprue and gluing them together. There are much better hobby channels which cover that. What I want to do is take you through the tactics. I want to explain why you want to give each unit certain weapons and why some are better than others. The reason for this is Guard has a shed load of options to pick from. Your standard infantry unit or Cadian shock troops has got loads of special weapons and sergeant equipment, and it can be really difficult to know which ones are the right choice if it's your first time getting into Warhammer or you're building your first few Guard models. And so I'm hoping that this video will serve as a good resource for new players getting into the Imperial Guard and will help them avoid building not necessarily the wrong choices, because every weapon does have a certain function, but the more efficient ones, and will give them the best first step into the faction. And so with all of that said, let's not mess around any further and let's dive right into today's episode. As is only fitting, we shall start at the top of the command chain, the Cadian Command Squad, the Officer Corps, as it were. Now, the Cadian Command Squad is actually one of the easier units to load out. It may not look like it, it's got almost an entire data card worth of weapon options, but it looks more difficult than it is. And this is because, by and large, the standard loadout of the Cadian Command Squad, what it comes with by default, is pretty good. And we're just going to tweak it in one or two areas. So by default, the Cadian Command Squad comes with the Cadian Commander who's equipped with a las pistol and chainsword. We then got a Veteran Guardsman who's got a las pistol and chainsword, a Cadian Veteran Guardsman equipped with a Master Vox, lasgun and close combat weapon, another Cadian Veteran Guardsman equipped with a lasgun, medipack and close combat weapon, and a final Cadian Veteran Guardsman equipped with a lasgun, regimental standard and close combat weapon, for a squad of 5 people, which consists of 1 officer and 4 guardsmen with various equipment.
Attention, Guardsmen! The Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately, or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Now, you have all sorts of war gear options and choices for this unit. And if you're a new player, it can be really difficult to know which one's the right one. I mean, do you keep the guy with the flag, or do you give him a special weapon? Do you go for a power fist, or do you go for a power sword? You just don't know, right? Well, don't worry, don't panic. I'm going to take you through what I would give a Cadian Command Squad as a beginner. I would have 1 man in the unit with the flag and the lasgun. I'd have another man in the unit with the Master Vox and a lasgun. And I'd have the Medipack guy with the Medipack and a lasgun. And then I would have 1 Cadian veteran who's going to be equipped with a plasma gun. And then I would take the Cadian commander and I would give him a plasma pistol and a power fist. This loadout will give you a really flexible unit that can take on all situations with no problems. It will be able to do some damage whilst also acting as a force multiplier. To take you through specifically why I've chosen each bit of war gear there, we've gone for the plasma pistol and power fist on the Cadian commander simply because they are the best options and there's no additional points costs for taking them. In editions gone by, so don't worry about this, but just in editions gone by, you used to have to pay extra points for upgrades. So a plasma pistol would cost you an extra 5 points on the unit, but that doesn't matter anymore. That doesn't exist anymore. No matter what you give your Cadian Command Squad, it's going to cost you 65 points. Well, 65 points at the time of recording this video. It may go up and down in the future, but it's got a fixed cost is the point. So why wouldn't you just go for the better options? A las pistol fires 1 strength 3 shot. That's all it does. The plasma pistol fires 1 strength 7 AP -2 1 damage shot. So it is more than double the strength. It's got an infinitely higher amount of AP because it actually has some. And sure, it only does 1 damage, but you can choose to supercharge the plasma pistol, which allows you to get an extra strength and an extra AP and an extra damage. However, I would not recommend that you do this. Firing your officer plasma pistol, always use the standard firing mode. And that is because if you fire it supercharged and then you roll a 1, your officer will die, which is pretty bad because he's really, really good and we don't want him to die. So but even just fired in the standard way, it's just infinitely better than shooting a las pistol. And the bolt pistol really isn't anything to write home about either. It's basically the same as a las pistol, except for it's 1 extra strength. But it's no AP, no extra damage. So in every single metric, that plasma pistol is just better, even if you don't supercharge it. Moving on to the other equipment in the unit, we've gone for the regimental standard. Now, there are a couple of different reasons why we've gone for this. Firstly, and most importantly, rule of cool. Any guard army just looks better when it is marching under beautifully painted banners and flags. And you gotta have the colors, right? You've gotta have the regiment colors. Even if there are technically better ways and you can put an extra special weapon in there, you take the regimental standard because it is cool. Secondly, it's also a very good bit of equipment. The regimental standard means that you get 1 extra objective control for your unit. Now, this means that everyone in the command squad will become objective control 2. And if you have your command squad leading a unit of Cadians, which you definitely want to do, command squads are okay on their own, but they're amazing when they're leading a squad of 10 or 20, a big 20-man blob of Cadian shock troops. Gives them an extra OC, puts those battle line units that they're leading up to OC3. Now, considering that 40k is won by scoring points, and half of those points come from holding primary objectives, anything that lets you hold objectives better, anything that lets you have more objective control is good because it's directly playing into the win conditions and win mechanics of the game. So that's the game reason why we take the standard, because it's actually really, really good at helping you dominate on those primary points. And that could also feed into doing secondaries like cleanse and extend battle lines, stuff like that. Long story short, we take the flag because it's cool, but also it scores us points. Now, we've gone for the Cadian veteran with a plasma gun, and this is the guy that starts off with a las pistol and chainsaw, but we've swapped that out and we've given him a plasma gun instead. And we've done that because the plasma gun is a good take-all commands weapon. It complements the fire that the officer has as well, because he's also got a plasma weapon. So you can get an extra strength 7, AP -2, damage 1 shot. It's also rapid fire, so it can get extra volume. So if you get within 12-inch range, which means you'll have your plasma pistol and you'll have your plasma gun guy in rapid fire range, you'll be getting 3 shots from that. That's 3 pretty decent shots. As we've seen, they're quite punchy. The good thing about the plasma gun is you can overcharge it as well, and you don't really mind if the plasma gun guy dies. You don't want your officer to die, but your plasma gun guy, you're going to have loads of plasma guns in your guard army. It's a great weapon. It's just a standard special weapon. If you're not sure what situation, if you're not sure what enemy you're taking on, plasma guns, you just can't go wrong with them in general. And so if this guy supercharges and kills himself, it doesn't really matter, because you'll have other ones that you can fall back on. Not in this unit, but in the rest of the army. Finally, we have the Master Vox and the Medipack. And the reason we've taken these is because we have to. In Cadian command squads, you have to have a guy with the Master Vox and you have to have a guy with the Medipack. There are other command squads that you get, such as the Scion command squad and the Platoon command squad, where you don't need to take these options. However, I would still take them. This loadout that we've spoken about for the Cadian command squad, I would take an identical loadout to this if I was running this unit as a platoon command squad as well. And this is another reason why we've gone for this particular loadout, is it allows us to play around with a couple of different data sheets. It means you can run your command squad as a Cadian one, or you can run your command squad as a platoon one. You don't need to change any models for it to work, which is great if you're starting off as a new player, because you want to be able to try out different data sheets to find out what's for you. But the reason why I would also take this equipment, and the reason why I take them in platoon command squads and Caden command squad, pretty much any command squad, is because the Medipack gives you a 6-up feel no pain. This means that once you've failed your armor save, you get an additional sort of chance to not lose a guy by rolling a feel no pain. So for example, if you have a Cajun squad that is being led by a Cajun command squad, and someone shoots you with a bunch of bolters and they do like 3 wounds to you. So they hit and they wound, and then you have to make your armor saves. Let's say you pass 1 of your armor saves. Now normally 2 guys would die. Because there is a Medipack in the command squad, and the Medipack affects everyone, not just the command squad, it affects the unit that's being led by the command squad as well. Those 2 Caden shock troops get to roll a dice each, 2 dice in total, and on a 6+, they wouldn't die. They would not feel the pain. The medic would patch them up, and so they get to keep going. Just digging into feel no pain for a second, you have to roll 1 dice for each damage. So if someone hits you with a heavy bolter, something that does 2 damage, and let's say they get 1 wound through, so they hit, wound, and you fail your armor save, you don't roll 1 6-up dice as the feel no pain, because it's 2 damage. You'd have to roll 2. So to save that 1 Cajun, you'd have to get a double 6 in that case. The feel no pain is good, but you can overwhelm it with high damage weapons, which is good to know for your rolls, and it's good to know for when you're shooting at an enemy unit. The Master Vox is a really, really good bit of equipment because it allows any officer in the unit to do their orders up to 24 inches away rather than the normal 6. Now, if you have a unit of Cajuns and they're just being led by a Cajun command squad, then you're probably just going to use the officer's order on the unit of Cajuns, right? On the 20-man Cajun shock trooper Bob. But if you take a unit of Cadians, let's say 20-man strong, and have a Cadian command squad in there, and then have a Cadian Castellan in there, Cadian Castellan is technically part of the unit, and he can also benefit from the Master Vox. Now we're getting outside of the territory of the combat patrol here, but it's just to mention it now to start you thinking about when you start expanding your army and you're adding other units in outside of the combat patrol, and how you can start using this Master Vox on its own in isolation in the command squad. It doesn't add all that much, but it pairs really well with other officers like the Caden Castellan, like Creed, and like the Lord Solar. So it's really, really good. It's going to be a vital bit of equipment when you start scaling your list up to 1,000 points and 2,000 points. But I appreciate we've thrown a lot of information at you there in one place. So to boil it all down, the Cajun Command Squad wants to have the officer with a plasma pistol and a power fist. You want to have 1 man in there with the flag, 1 man in there with the Medipack, 1 man in there with the Master Vox, 1 guy in there with a plasma gun. Moving on to our next unit, we need some foot sloggers. We need some poor bloody infantry that are going to be led by that command squad, and we're going to go for some Cadian shock troops. That's because you get 2 squads of these bozos in your combat patrol. Cadian shock troops are a really decent infantry choice. They come with a bunch of special weapons, and they're not very expensive points wise. They're only 60 points for 10 of them. But you don't want to be thinking of these as a 10-man unit. You want to be thinking of them as a big 20-man squad, because there are 2 ways that you can actually run your Cadian shock troops. You can have a squad of 10 blokes, or you can have a squad of 20. And good news is that if you build them as a squad of 10 or a squad of 20, it doesn't really matter, because the loadout is going to be basically the same. Just one will be a bigger version of the other. But the reason why I strongly almost insist that you think of this as a 20-man unit is because you get so much more out of it, and it makes your list much more efficient. If you take 2 10-man squads and you attach your command squad to one of those 10-man squads, then you'll have 10 guys which have got the benefit of the feel no pain, the benefit of the extra OC, and the benefit of the order. But you'll have 10 guys which don't. You have 10 guys which have got basically no support. If you take a big 20-man unit, which you're totally allowed to do under the unit composition section of the Cadian Shock Troops data card, then that will mean you'll have 20 guys benefiting from the command squad's feel no pain. 20 guys benefiting from the command squad's flag. 20 guys will be benefiting from the order. It literally doubles the efficiency of the orders and the equipment that your command squad brings to the table, and also makes your cane shock troops much more effective. So now that we've established we're going to take this as one big 20-man squad, what equipment are we going to give it? Well, each 20-man unit comes with 2 sergeants and then 18 basic soldiers, 18 shock troops. Every shock troop sergeant, as by default, comes with a las pistol and chainsword. And every shock trooper comes equipped with a las gun and a close combat weapon. But we really want to give them some special equipment, and that's because las guns don't do a whole amount on their own. And again, like with the command squad, there is no disadvantage with taking special weapons because your squad has a fixed points cost. If you take 20 cane shock troops and have sergeants with las pistols, chainsword, and guys with las guns, it costs you 120 points. If you take the same squad and load it up on special weapons and you give your sergeants some better gear and you take some voxcasters and stuff, it still only costs you 120 points. So you might as well always take the good stuff. But speaking of, your cane shock troops get quite a lot of special weapons, but there's all sorts of weird rules around it. So for every 10 models, you can have 2 shock troopers that replace their las guns with either a flame, a grenade launcher, a melt gun, or a plasma gun. But you can't have the same weapon more than once per unit unless it contains 20 models, in which case you cannot select the same weapon more than twice, blah, blah. Look, you want to take a cane shock troop unit, right? You want to make them 20-man strong. And you want to put 4 special weapons in there. Your 4 special weapons should be 2 plasma guns and 2 melter guns. Now, I've already gone over why we like plasma guns with the Canadian Command Squad. It's just a good take-all-comers weapon, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. The reason we're going for the melter guns over things like the grenade launchers and the flamers is because melter guns are just punchy. They've got good strength, they've got good AP, and they do a lot of damage when they get through. Also, 10th edition seems to be, when you get sort of 2,000 points, one which really favors vehicles and monsters. And melter guns are good, they're pretty good at tearing chunks out of those big tanks and those big horrible space gribblies. The main disadvantage of the melter gun is its short range. It's only got a 12-inch range. As a result, grenade launchers are a decent backup choice. So I would either have your cane and shock troop unit with double plasma and double melter, or double plasma and double grenade launcher, simply because the grenade launchers have also got a 24-inch range, so it complements your plasma guns. The only one that I would really avoid is the flamer, because it's an anti-infantry weapon, as we said, in a meta, in a game, which really is favoring big monsters and vehicles. In addition to the special weapons, you should also take a couple of voxcasters in your 20-man blob. They're free and you might get a few bonus command points throughout the game. Then have your sergeants. Now, any number of shock troop sergeants can have their las pistols replaced with a bolt pistol, and any number of shock troop sergeants can have their las pistol and chainsword replaced with one drum-fed autogun and a close combat weapon. I would almost always go for the drum-fed autogun because it gets more shots, and Guard is a shooting army. Bolt pistols, as we said in the command squad, not really worth writing home about, and I wouldn't worry about being a little bit better in close combat. Your guardsmen are going to die like shit in combat, whether there's a sergeant there with a chainsword or not. That chainsword ain't going to tip the balance in your favor. But Guard are primarily a shooting force, and the drum-fed autogun gets you more shooting. That's why we want that option. Again, just to summarize all of this, when building your combat patrol, you want to take your 20 Cadian shock troopers, and you want to build them with 2 sergeants with drum-fed autoguns, 2 men with las guns and voxcasters, and then you want to have 4 guys equipped with 2 plasma guns and 2 melter guns, or 2 plasma guns and 2 grenade launchers, and then everyone else in the unit just wants to have las guns. But that just about covers all of the infantry in the combat patrol. Now let's get to the interesting bits. Yeah, I know why you're all here. You're here for the big guns and the walkie tank thing. Well, let's start off with that walkie tank thing. the Sentinel. So the Sentinel comes in two different varieties. You've got the Scout Sentinel, which is faster and acts as a force multiplier, and you've got the armored one, which is tougher and could do a bit more damage. Now, the good news is that the new Sentinel kit, the one that comes in the Combat Patrol and that you can buy separately, builds both varieties. And even better, it doesn't force you to commit to either Scout or Armored Sentinel like it used to with the old kit. So if you follow the instructions carefully and you just don't glue the top canopy of the Armored Sentinel onto the model, then you have an interchangeable unit, one that you can use as Scout one game and Armored the next. But on top of this, what gets even better is a lot of the Sentinel weapon options are not fixed either. The way they designed the kit is you can basically push fit on all the different weapons from the autocannon and the las cannon, the missile launcher, all that kind of stuff. So if things change, you can swap your weapons out very, very easily. But for the sake of this video, I will tell you my preferred loadout for the Scout Sentinel and the Armored Sentinel. Pretty straightforward. In both cases, I say go for the las cannon. As I've said, with the shock troops, we're in an edition of vehicles, and so you got to go for the best anti-tank you can get your hands on, and that is the las cannon. Don't be fooled by the missile launcher. Missile launcher will tempt you in with its siren song and make you think that it's a take or come as weapon and that crack rockets are good at anti-tank. They're not. They're really not. I've extensively tested this. So you always want to go for the las cannon because yes, it's only one shot, but that shot can actually hurt big things. If you look in the rest of your army, you might struggle with that. You know, the infantry, you've got like plasmas and melter guns, which can, you know, in volume do damage, but the moment something is toughness 10, it's going to start getting a bit tricky. The las cannon, long story short, is a big bit of punch. You also want to go for the Sentinel chainsaw because it's free, makes you slightly better in combat. And you want to go for the Hunter Killer Missile because it's free and also adds more anti-tank. So whether you're going Scout Sentinel or you're going Armored Sentinel, you want a las cannon, a Sentinel chainsaw, and a Hunter Killer Missile. Last, but certainly not least, we get to the Field Ordnance Battery, your really big, heavy weapons. Now, the Field Ordnance Battery is a new unit that came in at the end of 9th edition, beginning of 10th edition, and it's really cool. I really, really like it. But there is only one real loadout for it. You always want to give your Field Ordnance Battery double bombast field gun. Based on what I have said earlier in this video about how prevalent big units like monsters are, you might be surprised by that. You might think that you want to go for the heavy las cannon. After all, that gives you some proper punch. And it does. But the issue is that the Field Ordnance Battery is quite fragile. Toughness 5, 4 up save, and 6 wounds is not much to write home about. Not in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things. And if you give your Field Ordnance Battery heavy las cannons or the Malleus rocket launcher, they have to see the enemy to be able to shoot them. They have what we call direct fire. This means that they'll be able to see the enemy, but the enemy will be able to see them. So they'll die quickly. But the bombast field gun has a special rule called indirect fire, which means that the Field Ordnance Battery does not need to see the enemy to shoot them. Essentially, they shoot the shells up and down, up and over like an artillery piece, right? So that allows you to hide the Field Ordnance Battery whilst also doing damage to the enemy. So yes, the bombast field gun, it's swingy with its random number of shots, and it's not got the highest strength, and it's not got the best AP or the best damage, but simply because you can hide the unit and just bombard the enemy every single turn, and they can't even shoot you back because you're hidden, means that over the course of the game, this unit will do damage. With all of that said, let's pull the information together into one place. Building your combat patrol, you want to have a Canadian command squad with an officer with plasma pistol and power fist, one man with the flag, one man with the medipack, one man with the master vox, and one guy with a plasma gun. Then going to have 20 Canadian shock troops in one big squad. You're going to have 2 sergeants with auto guns, 2 guys with plasma guns, 2 guys with melter guns, or 2 guys with grenade launchers. and you're going to have 2 Voxcasters, and the rest of the guys that you know are going to have lance guns. You're going to build your Sentinel, and you're going to default towards having the las cannon and the hunter gun missile and the chainsaw. But you're going to be careful with how you build it, so you can change between armored Sentinel and scout Sentinel easily. And then you're going to have your field ordnance battery, and you're going to build that with both guns having the bombast field gun. I suppose there is just one last question. Now that we've built our combat patrol, where do we go next? Well, you're going to need to scale the army up. The combat patrol will come in with about 350, 400 points, but if we're going up to 2,000 points, we're going to need a lot more models. Lucky for you, good news everyone, I have done a video explaining what my favorite and recommended beginner 2,000 point army list is, and it is based on using multiple combat patrols. So if you're interested in that video, I'll make sure there's a link to it at the end of this one and down in the description as well. As always, this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Did you find this video helpful, and are there any other factions that you'd like me to make a similar video for? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.